But Mukonori, you are one of the unsung heroes who managed to navigate and negotiate with former President, Comrade Robert Mugabe, so that he could usher in a new era of our politics. Could you tell us how it was to negotiate this new political dispensation?
Well, I was invited to assist the Army generals wanting to talk to their commander-in-chief. And I said, yes, of course, I can. Which I did. Was with, we were a team of 3.
That's Fidelis Mukonori Baba.
Yes. George Charamba.
The PEMSEC. And the acting GD, the intelligence. I know both sides. All right. Yeah. And when you came in, how did the negotiations proceed?
The first protocol to go to the general to explain what happened, and very clear that they to take this exercise, which they called Operation Restore Legacy. Restoring legacy of ZANU-PF, legacy of the president, Robert Mugabe, in his personhood as representing the Founding Fathers. And he is the only surviving person of the Founding Fathers. And he said, we realize that opportunists within ZANU were taking toll of the events, and therefore they and make sure they would preserve the legacy of itself and the liberation movement itself, that what they did should be preserved, because this was a new era which took us nearly a century to do. After discussing with the general, and they had everything in writing, they had 11 points to which they said grievances, which to leave the barracks, and they wanted to speak to His Excellency. So my team, and blue roof.
This is after the 13th.
This are
or 14th?
No, the very 13th.
On a Wednesday.
On Wednesday.
That's when, after President had the cabinet on a Tuesday, then Wednesday, that's when the soldiers were on the street.
Yes. So we went to see the president and gave him that here's the report. And he went through the report and we discussed. And he accepted all those 11 points. And as usual, President, he did not check off as if to say, this is not true, this didn't happen. No, he accepted these are valid points. And from there, therefore, we to discuss, to say it was essential that now that we had met him and we had met the generals, that we needed a meeting, combined meeting of the president and the generals, which we did at the State House. We went to the State House, all the generals, it was -1. Parents Shiri was still out of the country. He joined I think, at the end of the day, that day. And they discussed one by one, had input, led by Gouver. And the president understood the issue. And the issue now was, from these discussions, we felt there was a personality which was missing during these discussions. Then the following day, first thing in the morning, as I was driving KG6, this is now Josiah Tongo Barracks, I got a call to be warned that now the President Mnangagwa, that he was going to get in touch with me. And 10, 15 minutes later, he got in touch with me on my cell phone, and they said he wanted to talk to the president. And they explained why he wanted to talk to the president. And I proceeded to the barracks, and we more the issues which we had carried from the State House, so that we would be back again to the president, how they saw the issues which they discussed.
11 issues.
Yes, the 11 issues. And so it was like, back and forth. And after the first feedback, I told him that President Mr. Mnangagwa would like to talk to you. So he said, sure, where is he? I said, he's in South Africa. Well, I would like to talk to him. I would like to see him. I would like him to come over here. He said, so the fact is, he's in South Africa. So it doesn't matter whether he's in the moon or he's in South Africa. The fact is, he wants to see you. He wants to talk to you. So he said, sure. So I called on my cell phone. He answered. I said, I'm sitting next to the president. Here's the president wants to talk to you. He said, and they talked for 10 good minutes. It was a talk. That's what I would say.
Reminiscing over that long period of
issues. He says, Emerson, where are you? Why? To talk with you at some point in time after the issues, we wanted to get together. So why did you go to South Africa? And he explained that he had to flee because he was afraid of his life. Somebody intended to eliminate him. So the president said, I never knew that anybody could do that to you. Anyway, he says, come home, come right away. Your safety and security will be secured. We have the generals. So that was the issue. Then we went back again to say this money has happened. We were anxious for these two to talk. So we decided how to go from there, and that it seemed it was necessary for Mr. Mnangagwa to even that day. So I said to the generals, I'm going to phone Mr. Mnangagwa to let him know that we need him. When do we need him? When can he come? Because you are the safety and the security for him. You've been instructed by His Excellency. So I gave the phone to. When I asked them, they said, "Okay, we want him to come today." So I phoned Mr. Mnangagwa, and I said, I would like you to talk to General Chiwengwa about the plan. So the two talked, and General Chiwengwa said, come, we will look after you. We've been instructed to look after you, to give you safety and security. When, he said, General Chiwengwa said, well, today, nothing. So that was about 4:45 in the evening. So Mr. Mnangagwa said, that is not possible because, the day is gone. And I think I have to do one or two things. I have to clear a few things. So how about tomorrow? So we settled for him coming back to the following day.
And other processes were taking place?
Well,
there were other political processes which were taking place.
Yes, the following morning, these other processes were taking place. So when I got up in the next morning, with expectation that Mr. Mnangagwa was coming back, then to see the paper, the document which had been circulated, that he was not coming, and citing the issues to say, in the meantime, I have to jump to say, in between, the president addressed the nation, which everyone knows. So when the president addressed the nation, people had certain expectations. And people, the ordinary people, didn't know there had been these discussions behind the scenes,
yes,
which were taking place. The idea of President Mugabe was, I would like when Emerson comes back, then the two of them would get together and they would say, now, Emerson, what do we do now? Let's do this. Let's go and meet the party. Because they're the party to deal with.
But he had been fired. He had been fired. What was he coming back as?
Coming back because of this new dispensation coming in. His position was, when Emerson came back, he would now work with him. Okay? He would now work with him to resolve the 11 issues. One, going to the party to discuss this issue with the party, and any issues to do with the government, to ensure things were there. The reason being for him that he's ushering Emerson taking the lead into the Congress. No longer him, President Mugabe, as the candidate, but that Emerson Mnangagwa this time was going there as the candidate.
Then he addressed the press conference where he said, I'm going to lead the Congress.
If he was going to lead the Congress, was he going to lead the Congress to chair the Congress for them, for the people to elect him? That's what someone had to chair. That was the
intention.
That was the intention.
And so what happened? After the address? After
the address, the following morning, it was clear that the response was that the president did not go far enough of what in what he said, did not go far enough, and people expected more. Okay, so more was on the side on the political side, the of the two houses getting together for the impeachment.
First it was the Central Committee.
It was the Central Committee?
The Political Central Committee, which cashiered the first.
That's right.
Expelled some members.
Yes. Yes. So, things were fast, and we had to realize that Mr. Mnangagwa was no longer coming. It was very clear. He said, I'm an individual, but you have to see that the meetings of the Central Committee and the Central Committee, individuals. The meeting of the preparation for the two houses, the parliamentarians, which they were due to meet immediately, and he said those are done, and therefore he cannot preempt them. He cannot go ahead of them.
So they went.
So they were going. They were going.
And
so we realized that we had to look at the issue.
An honorable exit.
First the issues as they are. So we had to discuss where do we go from here? So we had good discussions.
Was he alone in all the negotiations, or he had the First Lady with him as he negotiated? Or did she take any participation in the negotiations to find a political solution to this country's challenges?
The wife was not part of the issue. As we say in philosophy, the major premise was the president. The wife, his wife. The wife was a member of ZANU-PF. The wife was in charge of the women. All that is on the political. Still Robert Mugabe's responsibility. So we were not zeroing in on the wife.
And she
only came out. She came when necessary for her to come, when we had the documents, which the president said, "Can you? These are from the youth leader of the party who had written that public letter to demean the security and the generals." So that letter purporting that the young man
Kudzai
Chipanga was saying that letter which from the First Lady's office and desk. Therefore, he was only doing what he had been told to do. And so she was asked by the president to say this letter. She denied it. She said, "No, it's not true. She never did that. She never." To see the issues that the complexity of the whole system within ZANU, within government, wanted to see that there were quite issues which there was lack of communication and information. But for me, that was troubling. She said, "No, she never did that."
Is there any iota of evidence that probably the president, because of his advanced age, people took advantage?
No one mentioned the word they were taking advantage because of his old age, but certainly they were taking advantage. The issue to do with people who are doing corruption, people who are threatening people of the War of Liberation within the party, expulsions, and in this case, this particular paper document targeting Chiwengwa and the generals to be out. Can you imagine? Would the president have allowed that? But the matter is, this document made get straw to the whole issue. So it had to be discussed, yes, but let me tell you, the discussions were very respectful, very clear, point blank. Each one, general by general, would speak, and that happened twice.
The entire command structure?
Yes, each general would speak his mind, very clearly, very respectfully. They always saluted him. He was still their commander-in-chief, but they're saying the honesty of the situation within the party and the government, and that this issue is not acceptable. That is gone, and they wanted to preserve the legacy, his own legacy as an individual, because he was the only surviving member of the founding fathers of their party, as well as the nation.
So ultimately, when he decided to call it quits, you were there?
We were together, yes. We were at the Blue Roof. We discussed by this time, at some point in time, We were joined also by the Minister of Defense, which we were very, very pleased about. And Dr. Gideon Gono also came, and we were discussing the issues. But these are the realities as we see them.
Parliament was already in
session.
session.
Parliament was in session. So, and he called the Speaker of Parliament, Diego Mudenda, and they talked for, what, eight minutes? And he said, Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm calling you because I would like to see you. I want to see you because I would like to talk to you regarding my decision that I would like to resign. I've decided in the national interest of Zimbabwe, I would like to resign, but I have to write a letter to you, Mr. Speaker. And I need that time to write the letter, sign it, and bring it to you. So the Speaker, he wouldn't be able to see him, and because the motion had that he was chairing Parliament, he had to continue. And I think what Mr. Mudenda didn't realize was, for him, the President was seeking to say, is there room for me to do the right thing and bring it over? So he kept saying, my hands are tied. So we said, look, this is a parliament in session, and therefore, and the session is about the president, and therefore he still has a right to write his letter and have it, for it to be deliver it there. So we decided to invite the Minister of Defense, the Minister of Justice, who is also leader of the House, and the Minister and the Chief Secretary to the Cabinet, and Attorney General. So we asked them to come over to the Blue House, and they said, "Look, can you help?" And the President said, "This is. I want to write the letter according to the Constitution." And they said, "Of course, yeah." And they drafted it, and it came out very, very clear. So we said, let the other two ministers go ahead to tell the Speaker that the letter is coming. So two ministers went ahead. Minister and Minister of Parliamentary Affairs, and Secretary stayed behind, and they drafted the letter. Gave him, and something very important. When the President looked at the letter, the draft, said yes, it's fine. After 5 minutes, came back, cleaned up. He looked at it very nicely, very soberly, just took his pen and signed it. And as he finished signing it, his face just glowed, as if to say, it's over, it's done.
And after signing, what did he say to you?
Oh, we all smiled. We all smiled, and the letter was put together, and then it was taken for delivery
to the Speaker.
Yes. And we sat down.
Obviously, you had certain guarantees you did when you were negotiating this agreement, that he has got to stay in the country, he has to not to be harassed around. Those were there, done.
Listen, he was the way. The army was never barricaded him, as people were saying he was under house arrest. Or some of say I heard some saying he was crying. That's not true. The army was there indeed, but they were looking after him, and they said several times, "Father, we do not want others persons and the people to take advantage of this. They will come and harm our president, and we will be to blame. So they made sure he was well after. There was no animosity. Let me put it that way. There was no animosity right throughout our discussions. Sure, we were discussing issues seriously.
Somebody would say, Father, you are an unsung hero in this whole thing. Would you, if somebody characterizes you as a hero, what would you say?
This is not my first time to be a mediator. I mediated during the war, the height of the war. I mediated with the white farmers. I mediated with regarding the Anam Jiba. I mediated the white farmers in 2000. So this is just another job to be done.
Have you seen him after the agreement?
No, we've been talking over the phone. The last time was, he's quite happy, the voice is quite clear. The last time was just the day before the inauguration, and I was asking him how he was, and he said, I think it was the third telephone, Says, Father, I believe you were not well, you had the cold. I said, yes. I said, oh, I'm sorry, because we had to put you into all this. I said, Mr. President, when I get into issues such as this ones, I switch off and I get going. I'm quite okay. My doctor gave me my drugs and I'm quite fine. He said, yes, but thank you very much. But you know, I got a call from Emerson and I said, oh, he said, yes, inviting me for the occasion tomorrow. I said, oh, that's wonderful. Sorry, but he said, but I said, look, not for now, not now, because the situation is still charged, so I cannot attend. But I tell you, Father, I'm there for him. I'm at his disposal.
So you have heard, that's Father Fidelis Mukonori, the Catholic father, participated in midwifing the new political dispensation which we have to date, where Comrade Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa is the current head of state and government. Father Fidelis Mukonori was in the thick of things. You needed people who were taken into confidence by the then president, Robert Mugabe, and by the new political dispensation which was championed by the defense forces. You needed somebody really who was taken on board by the two sides, and that person was Father Fidelis Mukonori, the Catholic priest who was instrumental in striking a deal. That's Ruben Barwe, Harare.